There are some sounds you hear once and immediately forget. Then there are sounds that stay with you for years because you never discover what made them. This happened in January of 2016. My buddies and I lived right next to a nature preserve, and exploring it had become one of our favorite ways to waste a weekend. We knew the trails, the creek, the wooded areas, and all the little places most people never bothered to visit. We weren't looking for trouble that particular weekend. We were just bored, curious, and being the kind of mischievous teenagers who always seem to find something they probably shouldn't be doing. That's how we ended up standing near a storm drain that supplied water to the creek running through the preserve. A barred barricade covered the entrance, keeping anyone from going inside. Naturally, that only made us more curious. We started wondering how deep the drain actually went. None of us wanted to crawl inside, so we came up with an easier idea. We would throw rocks through the bars and listen for them to hit something. If we could hear the rocks striking the bottom or a wall, maybe we could figure out how far the tunnel went. It seemed harmless. One of us picked up a rock and threw it into the darkness. We watched it disappear. Then we waited. A couple of seconds passed. Nothing. And then, from somewhere inside that black tunnel, came a sound. Thump. Or maybe it was more like a heavy bang against concrete. We all froze. For a moment, nobody said anything. The sound had come from inside the drain, but we couldn't tell what had caused it. There was no obvious explanation. We hadn't seen anything moving. We had only thrown a rock. One of us finally muttered something along the lines of, "What the hell was that?" By then, dusk was approaching. The light around the preserve was fading, and suddenly the place didn't feel like the same familiar area we'd explored so many times before. We decided to leave it alone. We went home and watched the video we'd recorded, listening again for the strange noise. But instead of answering our question, the recording only made us more curious. We couldn't explain the thump, and the following weekend, curiosity won. The next weekend, I gathered a few more buddies, and this time we decided we weren't going to stand outside wondering what had made that sound. We were going inside. There were 5 of us all together. The plan was simple: unbolt the barricade, enter the storm drain, see where it went, and get back out. At the time, it didn't feel nearly as serious as it sounds now. I managed to get the barricade loose. With some effort, it fell down, opening the entrance. The 5 of us stood there for a moment, staring into the darkness. The drain extended roughly 20 feet before reaching what looked like a dead end. But then we noticed something. To our left was another branch of the drain. It wasn't immediately obvious from the entrance. You had to take a step up to get into it. And once we saw it, the question became unavoidable. Where did that branch lead? One by one, we climbed into it. At first, there was nothing unusual, just spider webs, mud, cold concrete, the kind of stale, damp smell you would expect from an underground drainage system. We moved forward together, squeezing through the narrow passage. The farther we went, the smaller the drain became. Eventually, we had to duck just to keep moving. Our shoulders nearly brushed the walls, and every sound seemed amplified by the concrete around us. Footsteps echoed. Clothing scraped against the tunnel. Every movement produced a small noise that seemed much louder underground. Still, nothing happened. We continued deeper. It was somewhere around 500 to 1,000 feet into the drain when the atmosphere suddenly changed. Nobody had said anything. We were simply moving forward when all 5 of us stopped. At almost the same moment, we heard it. The same sound. The exact same thump we'd heard the weekend before. It came from farther inside the drain. For a second, nobody moved. We were all standing right next to each other. There was no one ahead of us, no one behind us. And yet that sound had come from somewhere much farther down the tunnel. It was difficult to describe. It wasn't simply a rock falling. It sounded heavy, deliberate, and completely out of place. We had no cell signal. There was no easy way to call anyone. And suddenly, the narrow tunnel felt much smaller than it had a few seconds earlier. The 5 of us stood there without speaking. Nobody wanted to be the first person to say what everyone else was thinking. The sound had happened again. That was the part we couldn't ignore. If it had happened once, we could have blamed a rock, water, an animal, or something shifting underground. But we'd already heard it the previous weekend. And now, after entering the drain ourselves, we'd heard the same exact noise from somewhere deeper inside. The tunnel seemed to swallow every bit of sound around us. There was no reassuring noise from the outside world. No traffic. No voices, no phone signal, just the faint movement of 5 people breathing in a narrow concrete passage. I remember how strange it felt knowing that we were all standing together and still couldn't explain what we'd heard. One of my friends decided to start recording. If something else happened, at least we'd have it on video. That decision turned out to be far more important than any of us realized at the time. We continued for a while, but the fear had changed the way we moved. We weren't exploring anymore. We were listening. Every scrape against the concrete made us look around. Every distant sound made us stop. The drain kept narrowing, and the farther we went, the less comfortable everyone became. Eventually, we decided we'd had enough. We turned around. There was no dramatic chase. Nothing suddenly appeared in front of us. No one grabbed us. We didn't hear another unexplained noise. We simply made our way back through the drain and eventually climbed out. All 5 of us got out safely. At that point, we thought the experience was over. We had heard the strange thump twice. We had gone inside. We had gotten scared and left. That should have been the end of it. But later, when I reviewed the video, I noticed something I hadn't seen while we were actually inside the drain. I went through the footage carefully. At first, everything looked normal. Then I reached one of the turns. I stopped the video. There was something in the frame. At the turn in the drain, farther away from where we were standing, was what looked like the faint outline of a head. I replayed it. Then again, I couldn't make sense of it. The more I watched, the more impossible it seemed. All 5 of us had been together. So whose head was that? Section 4. I took a screenshot of the frame. Then I zoomed in as far as I could. At first, the image was difficult to interpret. The darkness and poor quality made everything look distorted. But as I stared at it, the shape became more recognizable. And that's when my stomach dropped. The outline looked like a head, not one of ours. It appeared to have glowing eyes. And above the head were shapes that looked like pointy ears. The overall shape reminded me of something demonic. I kept staring at the image, trying to convince myself there had to be another explanation. Maybe it was part of the drain. Maybe it was a shadow. Maybe the angle of the camera had created the illusion of a face. Maybe the poor video quality had turned an ordinary object into something that looked terrifying. Those explanations would have been comforting. But there was one problem. We had all been together. There shouldn't have been another person standing around the corner. And whatever appeared in that frame seemed to be positioned in exactly the kind of place where none of us remembered seeing anyone. I went back through the footage again. The image was still there. The same shape. The same strange appearance. The same unsettling eyes. By then, the memory of the thump came rushing back. That sound had seemed to come from much farther inside the drain. We had no signal. We were underground. The tunnel was getting narrower. And somewhere ahead of us, something had made that same heavy sound twice, on 2 separate weekends. Now there was something else on the recording that we couldn't explain. I don't know what was actually visible in that frame. I can't prove that it was a person. I can't prove that it wasn't. And I can't prove that the eyes were really glowing rather than being an artifact of the recording. But when you combine that image with the circumstances, it becomes difficult to forget. Because when we were standing inside that drain, we believed the scariest thing that could happen was hearing another unexplained noise. We were wrong. The scariest part came afterward, when we realized there might have been something in the tunnel with us that we never noticed. And whatever it was, we had walked past it without knowing. After seeing the image, none of us wanted to go back. The nature preserve had been a familiar place before all of this. It was somewhere we went when we were bored, somewhere we explored because we knew the area and thought we understood it. But the storm drain changed that. The memory of the darkness stayed with us. So did the sound. That strange, heavy thump. The first time we'd heard it, we'd been standing outside the barricade, throwing rocks into the drain and joking around. Then, seconds after one of those rocks disappeared into the darkness, something had answered. The following weekend, we'd gone inside and heard the exact same thing again. Only this time, it had come from much farther away. We had been together, all 5 of us. We had no phone signal, no clear explanation, and no idea what was waiting beyond the narrowing sections of the tunnel. We eventually made it back outside without anything else happening. But the video gave the whole experience a different meaning. There, in a single frame, was that faint outline at one of the turns. A head, strange eyes, pointed shapes that looked like ears. Something that, when enlarged, appeared almost demon-like. Maybe there was a completely ordinary explanation. Maybe the shape was a trick of darkness, concrete, perspective, or the camera. Maybe the thump had been caused by something natural that we simply didn't understand. But none of those possibilities erased what we experienced. We had entered that drain looking for an adventure. We left with a recording we couldn't explain and a memory none of us wanted to repeat. To this day, we have never gone back into that nature preserve, and we certainly never went back into the storm drain. Whatever caused the sound, whatever appeared in that video, and whatever might have been hiding around that distant turn remains unanswered. Sometimes, the most frightening stories aren't the ones where you know exactly what happened. They're the ones where you leave with the evidence in your hands and still have no idea what you were looking at. For us, that storm drain was one of those places. And after that night, we decided there were some mysteries better left underground.